Tim Soder. Time for some Tim Soder, baby.
Tim Soder, yes. Dan Soder had the great John Feidelberg on. John Feidelberg, a good man. Let me sleep in his apartment once. Feidelberg was on with Soder, and they were talking about Howard Stern. And really, I only used this clip in particular. Soder says some interesting things about Stern. But more, I wanted to use it to talk about Howard. We haven't been on since Howard, I guess, tricked everyone. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Has any more come out about why he didn't do a show on Tuesday? I know there's rumors his cat passed away, his mother was sick. I saw all sorts of things, but I never heard anything concrete.
No more rumors, but I have a feeling that even that was bullshit because, like, the hype machine, the pre-promotion machine from, like, the staff on Twitter is in high, like, I'm getting tweets all the time from Baba Booey and JD, like, watch the show coming up. So that it all feels manufactured, man. None of it's real.
Well, if it is manufactured, it's a weird one, and it shows you how out of touch Stern is, that he thinks the people that are excited for that show are like, oh no, his kitty died?
Yeah.
Poor Howard. Howard, take all the time you need, buddy.
It's his first
take as much time to recover as you need.
This is the first contract negotiation without his agent, and it is showing, man. It is. Well, he's
great point. Without the great Don Buchwald, yes.
Yeah, he's dead. So this is like Howard trying to do Don Buchwald things, radio things, in a world of podcasting.
And not only that, it's the first time in how many years that anyone is thinking, oh, I got to listen to Stern tomorrow. I mean,
yeah, well,
10, 15? Mm-hmm. I would bet the last time, maybe I'm forgetting something, but I would bet the last time anyone like made an appointment to listen to Howard Stern was after that Pelican Brief video, when people were like, oh, maybe he'll address it. And to my memory, he didn't really, right?
No.
He never said anything about that. And I think that's when people started to know, like, oh, it's over. He's not a guy that addresses real things anymore. So for the first time, and this is how crazy things have gotten, Howard Stern is promoting the fact that he's going to address a topic that his fans want to hear him talk about. Like, that's the attention that this is getting. It's like, oh my God, Howard's going to talk about something we're interested in for the first time in over a decade. Can you believe it? So people are very excited. Excited is the wrong word. We're all kind of like, I think if you guys are like me, which I imagine a lot of you in the chat are, I think you're kind of thinking like, oh yeah, I'll listen tomorrow whenever I get a chance, and I'll be curious what he says, but it's probably going to be nothing. Like, I don't think it's going to blow our minds. I think it's going to be him announcing he's re-signed or he's retiring. You know, like, I don't think it's going to be some monumental, he's bashing the company like Howard's been. It would be great if Howard just came in, like Artie's with him, and he's bashing the company, you know?
He's wearing a MAGA hat and Artie's with him. He's like, guys, I've seen the light.
I'm back. But I don't think that's going to happen. But this is Soder talking about Howard Stern and his reputation at SiriusXM.
It changed. Where I get annoyed is, as a former employee of SiriusXM, he did fucking nothing to help the future generations. We weren't allowed to play Howard Stern clips. We weren't allowed to talk about Howard Stern. All Big J wanted was acknowledgement from Howard Stern on the bonfire. And one time someone called in Howard Stern and they're like, yeah, what's up, Howard? Blah, blah. Hey, bonfire, crackle, crackle. And he hung up and he goes, crackle, crackle. What the fuck is that shit? And then it's like, and we wanted to play it. And then our bosses were like, you do not play a clip of Howard Stern. Really? And we're like, we're on his thing.
Yeah.
I found that so interesting. So as like an Opie and Anthony fan, that doesn't really surprise you. Because you knew O&A were never allowed to play his stuff. I kind of always thought that was like an Opie and Anthony thing. Like, fuck those guys. Even if they're talking good about me, I don't want them playing a clip of me. Like, I thought that was just, an old grudge between those two. The idea, like, as Soder said, Big J was like a Howard fan. He was going to be excited just to be like, hey, they talked about our show on Howard Stern. The idea that you're not allowed to do that for within the same walls. It's the same company. and another channel, a popular up-and-coming show, like more people care when Soder was there, particularly. Maybe not as much now, but when Soder was there, more people cared about the bonfire than the Howard Stern show. That's just a fact. Like that's when people stopped giving a fuck about Howard, and the bonfire really became the premier comedy show there because it's after Anthony left O&A and Stern just stopped giving a fuck. So the bonfire was like the comedy show that people started caring about on that platform. And the idea that they were going to probably speak glowingly of Stern and talk about how funny it was that he didn't know how dismissive he was of their show, like the idea that they weren't allowed to do that is so crazy. And it speaks to Howard just losing his mind. And to Soder's point, like I would refute that a little and be like, it's not Howard's job to nurture young talent, and he's not a AAA coach that's trying to help these kids come along. Like that's not his job, but to go out of your way to set them back, I think is gross. Like to purposely try and hinder their show is bullshit. And it's why people stopped giving a fuck about Stern.
And can I say it's also counterintuitive to all the millions of stock that you hold in the company that they are employees of?
Yes.
And also, you have two... Go ahead.
No.
You have two channels to fill with people like Soder. Like, what are you talking? Like,
that's what I was going to say. Not just as a businessman, not as a stockholder that's looking at it from that angle. I think if you're looking at your show and caring about your show, say, oh, Big J and Soder are these sort of up-and-coming guys that I can have on and absorb their fans, like younger people. Like, it's amazing to me if you look at the list of comedians that have not been on Howard Stern. Like, and maybe I just don't pay attention enough to Stern, but like Gillis, Nate Bargatze, Andrew Schultz, I don't think any of these guys have done Stern's show. And it's with Theo Vaughn. Like, it's amazing to me, this crop of the most prominent comedians that exist right now have not been on Howard's show. And it's because he just kind of went out of his way not to know who they were and be dismissive of them. Like, to not realize the value that they could provide to your show, that would be so much better than having Chelsea Handler and Sarah Silverman in, especially for the audience he already had. If he didn't resent his audience so much and just said, hey, I don't mind if fucking truck drivers or construction workers listen to me, I'm going to have Shane Gillis on or Tony Hinchcliffe or whoever the fuck. Like, I'm going to have these guys on when they're young, build a relationship with them, and then I get to steal their fans, essentially, Yeah. All those other people would go listen to Howard and hear Shane on Howard. Like, all the Matt and Shane fans would hear Shane on Howard and maybe be like, oh, this guy's pretty good. I'm going to listen to his other interviews. But Howard stopped thinking like that. And it's amazing to me because he was the master of thinking like that. Like, he's the guy that taught everyone how to do that. And somewhere along the way, it fell out of his brain. He doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, no, he chose Jackie's Joke Hunt over Tim Soder. So, hey, good job. Good job.
Tim Soder. Stop calling him that.
I think it'll stick. Hashtag Tim Soder.
So I don't have any sympathy for him.
That was not that I've been to.
I have empathy, but I don't have sympathy. I'm like, I get that the things have changed. That must suck to be in that position. But fuck you.
But dude, not again. You were at Sirius a million times more often than we ever were.
Yeah.
But there was a phase where we were going up there, somewhat regularly, and to a person, there wasn't one person who ever talked to us at Sirius who didn't say Howard Stern's a fucking asshole.
Like, he shuts down. He has a whole wing that you're not allowed to go to.
That's
First
what
off,
people would always say that like he has an elevator that you don't even see him.
You're not allowed to talk to him.
Not allowed
if
to
you see him in the
talk to him,
hallway.
yeah.
You have to get out of the way.
That's insane, dude.
And
How
I
do
hate
you end
to
up
say
like
this.
I will say
You did
this.
a lot of good stuff. You're not that talented.
I'll say this, just that, remember that story came out about Steve Harvey? That people weren't allowed to look at him. He had this like list of things. This list of rules came out.
Ellen's rules, yes.
Yeah, you couldn't make eye contact with Steve Harvey, whatever. I heard Steve Harvey explain that. And he goes, listen, everyone in this building, he goes, I'm the guy here. It was the Steve Harvey show or Family Feud or wherever it was. He's like, I'm the guy here. And everyone from interns on up wants to talk to me and bend my ear and pitch me ideas and wants FaceTime with me. Because that might lead to other opportunities. I can't be bogged down with every intern that wants to tell me about a script they're writing or run a joke past me. He's like, so you kind of have to just make a blanket rule, like, don't fucking talk to me, you know?
Yeah.
And when I heard him explain that, I was like, I get it. That I actually understood where he was coming from with that. I think the difference with Howard is he doesn't need a 90-person staff. He needs like 8 people. And those 8 people have been with him for 40 fucking years. There's no reason Howard can't do that show with just, and I'm being a little generous, Robin, Fred, Gary, Richard and Sal, Benji, and maybe 1 or 2 other behind-the-scenes people, like engineers or something. Yeah, sure. I don't really know what he does, but yeah, like that core group of people. Like Howard could just do the show with them. Instead, he has 70 fucking writers and makeup people and this ridiculous staff because he wants to feel important. And that's the disconnect with Stern, where he didn't need any of that. Like he could have been the cool guy, the rebel that kind of went against this thing. And it's weird with Howard because he wanted so badly to be Johnny Carson, be Letterman, whatever. Like he wanted that level of respect, and he couldn't be satisfied with being by far the biggest name to ever do it in radio. Like I've heard a lot of people talk about, well, who's going to replace Howard? Who in radio could replace Howard right now? That doesn't exist. It's gone. It's done. Really the only people in radio ever that transcended, like that became genuine celebrities. And by that, I mean, you could go to any state, more or less in the country, say their name, and the majority of people would recognize who you're talking about. Even if they're not necessarily a fan, they would know that name. The only names I could think of were Casey Kasem, Rush Limbaugh, and Howard Stern. And to me, like of those 3, Howard has by far the most influence, I think. Am I missing anyone with that? Where it's like genuine celebrities from radio. I can only think of those 3, really.
Yeah, maybe like the War of the Worlds guy, if you're going to get technical, you know. Like
Art Bell.
Well, him too.
Oh, no. Well, isn't the War of the Worlds guy is Orson Welles, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, he was the original radio guy.
I'm saying did nothing else. I'm saying known from radio.
Did like you say Larry King?
No, but Larry King is known for his TV show. Yeah, what I'm saying is I'm saying a guy that's only known for the radio. Where if you told someone they did something else, they'd be like, oh, really? You know, like I think I love the movie Private Parts, but I think if you told most people Howard Stern has a movie, they wouldn't really know that. You know,
I'm gonna put Imus up there. What do you think about that one?
See, I don't think so because I don't think Imus had that level. Like his audience obviously knew who he was, and he was very well known, and he had that show on was it MSNBC or wherever it was.
Yeah,
yeah, but he was simulcast in the morning, and but I wouldn't put Imus on that level where you could go anywhere, say the name Don Imus, and have people know what you're talking about until the nappy-headed hose thing.
Chat's playing now, and they're coming up with some good ones here, Mike. We got Wolfman Jack. What do you think?
No, not to that level. No,
Paul Harvey.
Paul. These are all like radio celebrities. Okay. I'm saying people that would be like the A guest if they were on the Tonight Show.
Aaron Imholt.
Okay, all right, you got me.
Yes,
yes.
We did it.
Yeah, no, but like even like Paul Harvey, it's like he is known from the radio, but he's not like a name you could go anywhere and talk Paul Harvey. Really, you have to be like a kind of a radio nerd. Maybe I'm thinking more in my generation. Maybe he was bigger back in the day, but like I'm thinking if you were a guest on Carson or Leno or Letterman, whatever, they would be the A guest, and it would maybe not even Casey Kasem if I'm going by those rules, you know.
What about sports? What about that Mike and Mike in New York?
But they were really like one market, you know? Okay. Like people know of them elsewhere, but it's really like just New York that people gave a shit about them. I mean, I grew up in Western Mass and I cared about them like because I could get their signal a little bit. But like for the most part, no, it's not that level. Like with sports fans, he's very well known. But
I'm just finding your boundaries here, Mike. I think I got what you're saying.
Oh, put it this way: all the names that they're saying are valid. None of them are bigger than Stern.
Carolla,
not even close. No, not Carolla. Like Carolla's not bigger, and he's known for other things too.
Oh, that's true.
So that's what I mean
Sponge.
is like Howard couldn't be content. Bubba the Love Sponge. Yeah. Howard couldn't be content with being the biggest guy ever in radio. Like I think Rush Limbaugh was the only name I could come up with that is close, and I don't think it's that close.
I got kind of a deep question for you, Mike. 1,000 years from now, do they look at Howard Stern as a radio guy who did amazing, was the top of his thing, or is it a story about how you can be a genius but lose it and then become like the opposite of a genius in the same field? Because people are going to look at his career as like, this guy was ahead of his time and then something happened and he was far behind everyone else. So I think you could tell a story that's like, who knows what Benedict Arnold did on radio? We know what he did as a trader. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I think Howard's greatest or what he'll be known most for is, however you want to look at it. Like if Mark Maron wants someone to blame for Kill Tony and the state that comedy is in right now, I think the guy to blame for that, or credit, or however you want to view it, is Howard Stern. Like I think Howard, and there are other people, like Dice was a big factor in this, but like that era of like, you know, Norman Lear came in and made it so that you could say pregnant on television. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like he broke down a lot of barriers. And the guy who left not a single barrier standing was Howard Stern. Like when Howard came around and got popular, it became, hey, we should be able to say whatever the fuck we want. You know? Like we can go really crazy. And I think Howard is the guy that opened those floodgates, for better or worse. I think the thing that makes that most obvious is how much Howard regrets that. Like how much he's distanced himself from that guy. I think he really is embarrassed by doing that. When you look at the blackface videos and all the stuff that people pull up on Howard, I think he's horrified that those exist and he's run from it. So I think that's Howard's legacy, is everything that came out from fucking Limp Bizkit to, like everything that came after Howard that was like so outrageous, like the shit that was going on MTV, like not even just comedy or radio. Like Howard's a big part of all of that. And like I said, Dice is another big factor, and plenty of other stuff. Just the idea of cable television, HBO, like stuff like that. But I think Howard was a big part of all that. To me, that's what he's best known for.
I don't think Howard gives a fuck about the blackface. I think Jennifer Aniston cares about the blackface, and Howard's got to look across her dinner every night, you know?
Yes, that's a good point. I don't think he really gives a fuck. I think he's embarrassed. That's a better way to say it. He's embarrassed that other people can see that in his orbit.
No.
He sort of set that up for 20 years. He's like, look at all my weirdnesses. And then he turned into like a quote unquote like celebrity, but you told us like all the things to look for 20 years.
He's like, I don't have any weirdnesses. What do you mean? What weirdness?
Yeah. Erase those tapes.
No one is that talented. No one's Saudi Arabian prince talented. Like, you do not look at him. You must look at the ground. If Howard is here, you do not speak to him. You do not bring him up. It's like, dude, Stern could have put over. He just sucks off celebrities that are already made. So no one gives a shit, Howard. You're just a part of a public run that everyone has to do when they have a high-powered publicist. You didn't grow anybody. You didn't go, hey, this Big J guy, super funny.
Yep.
Big fan of mine. Have him come on. Jay should have been on Stern as early as 2016. And I'm saying that as his co-host. Because if the opportunity ever would have came, if they would have gone, hey, we want the bonfire on Stern, you know what that would have done? We would have been young and funny and around him, and we would have been looking for his basically approval.
Right.
And then it would have just grown. And then you'd go, oh, well, Stern, well, when he doesn't. And then it sets up Sirius to go, well, we got the next guy.
Then there's an heir.
Because there's an heir apparent. Yeah. But there's no heir. So no one gives a fuck. So don't get mad about Alex Cooper. Don't get mad about Joe Rogan. You fucking did this. This is where I'm annoyed. This is the only reason, because I brought it up and I'm like, fuck this. I got a podcast. Yeah. I'll say this. He doesn't count this as broadcasting. His old ass isn't going to listen. Also, I like Howard Stern. I wish he would have done the right thing.
I'd heard it. Obviously, like I said, I'd heard it when I go to Sirius that like he's an asshole and you can't talk to him. But not setting up the company for the future, and the company that you built, the company that will have,
dude, the company that paid you $500 million, the company that will probably more than $1 billion,
likely continue to if you continue to build the company.
It's a very self-aware point by Dan. And Soder's not usually a guy that measures his own dick publicly. Like he's not calling himself like a young. He's not Tony Hinchcliffe. He doesn't have that type of ego. But like, for him to say like, hey, they had the opportunity to like kind of nurture the young guys coming up and make yourself part of that world, and that's where Opie and Anthony were very smart. Is a lot of people. The reason Opie and Anthony became essentially a bigger show after Anthony got fired is because people would look up Patrice O'Neal clips and Louis C.K. clips and Bill Burr clips and on and on and on, all the comedians they had on. And in the earlier days of YouTube, I mean, even now to a degree, but like in the really early days of YouTube, if you just search for Bill Burr stuff, the first thing that would come up is his appearances on Opie and Anthony. Same with Louis C.K. and obviously Patrice. But like all these guys that wrote, even like Jim Jeffries and people like that, if you search for their stuff, the first things that would come up were Opie and Anthony clips. And that could have been Howard. And he just lost the most damning thing that I think Howard ever did. Even worse than, like, the Pelican Brief is embarrassing, and it's a sign of how out of touch he became and everything. But really, I think the worst thing he did was shit all over Ari Shaffir and have this, like, feud with Ari Shaffir over the idea of podcasting. Like if you never saw that, Casey, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember that?
I did, and I'm ashamed because I was a Stern listener at the time. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck this Ari Shaffir. I'm in the cult. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Who is this guy? He's got a weird head. His head. I'm
sure there were a lot of people like that. They were like, oh, Howard said so fuck Ari Shaffir. But Howard was so far off on that, and it made him sound so old to be like, and particularly as like I was doing college radio, I think that when that happened. Or starting a podcast or whatever it was. And for Howard to say like, if you're young and you want to get into the business, if you want to get your name out there, you go to Des Moines and you do AM radio. And I was like, I don't think that's how you do it. And so for him to be so out of touch, it was the mark of a guy who had just lost it, and also said fuck you to this group of guys that could have made his show funny and relevant for the next 10 years that he was about to embark on, but he had no interest in that.
Soder made like a point that I hadn't really thought about before. Like, so picture this in like Game of Thrones times. This is like a king who will not have an heir because he'll just want to get rid of all the sons. I want to be king forever. Well, that throws the kingdom in fucking chaos. It's basically a power vacuum because we all know you're going to die. So all these other people come up. It allowed the rise of Joe Rogan and all that. You could make an argument that if Howard Stern would have done what you're describing, there could have been no rise of these other things because there would have been no vacuum. He would have had all the good comedians. He would have been funnier. He would have been more relevant. He would have understood. And what's even sadder is like, so you don't do the comedians. So do your whack packers. He even gave up on his own, tardids. The people that we love for decades. And so he just threw everything out with the bathwater and was like, well, now we'll do celebrities.
That might be, you were asking what Howard's legacy is. His greatest failure might be that he could have made radio cool. Yeah. But I don't think he realized that. He did. He talked about it all the time, how he was the greatest thing in radio. But he could have made radio as respected an art form or whatever you want to call it, as respected a medium as television and movies and music. Like, people would have been as interested in that in their own way. It might have still been a little more niche. But if Howard didn't try and ruin everyone that was competition, like if some guys he embraced, it didn't have to be Opie and Anthony, but shows like that, like if he embraced some of those people, then radio would have been a cooler thing that people respected more. He was always so embarrassed at how people looked at radio, and therefore him. Like, people looked down at radio, as they should. It's a bullshit industry that has been run by morons for many years. But like Howard always felt embarrassment by that when he could have changed it. And that's not his responsibility, but he had that power. He wanted a legacy, and he felt it was better to make a legacy of a guy. Oh, yeah, that guy that was on AGT for a little while. Like, that was more important to him than actually being the king of radio. He called himself the king of all media. He didn't realize he had the chance to be an actual king. Not even a chance, he was.
It's Shakespearean. I mean, it's a tragedy. The man who loved radio so much he built it into this beautiful thing. Literally, the vacuum that he created by doing what he did there destroyed it and created all these other things in its wake. You know, Spotify.
So what do we think he does tomorrow? This video will probably drop as he's discussing it. I think he announces that he's re-signing.
I think he's going to re-sign for like a day a week because he has to come up with a way to explain the giant missing money that's going to be. And he's going to be like, well, now it's just a day a week and they get all my tapes. But it's basically Sirius just saying, we want the tapes.
I got to tell you, if that's what he does tomorrow after all this hype,
watch Howard tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Today is the day Howard speaks.
If he comes on and goes, yeah, I'm doing 1 day a week going forward. It's like, oh, okay. What a disappointment.
Imagine if he had said, and this whole thing would have been, next week, Howard addresses Stuttering John. like that. The world would have erupted. At least this part of the world would have erupted. And the rest of the world would have been like, what the fuck? Why is he talking to Stuttering John? Yeah. Everyone would have been like, what? So, you know.
I'm funding Carl and Shuli's lawsuit.
Yes. People are like, what's a Shuli? What's a Carl?
It really shows. By the way, he's certainly not announcing, like, for all of us looking forward to what it is or interested in it, it's certainly not going to be that he's doing more work. You know, it's not going to be, I'm coming back and I'm going to be better than ever. So I really don't even know what we expect. And nor should, but Howard's fucking 75 or whatever he is. It's not, he shouldn't be now doing 5 days a week and more radio and any of that shit.
He's like Kumia. He picked up a midnight shift on an AM station. He's
I'm taking him down.
Stern followed by Kumia here on 6:40 AM.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it will be disappointing.
Go to blindmike.net for everything Blind Mike. Look at me. I did it. Kragers did it.